She will not be breaking down any blocking schemes for us or zone defenses, but she does know her football. She definitely knows her football, and it's a much more interesting conversation than that with Kelly Rippin from Fox 17, resident Penn Stater, Steelers fan, all-around sports junkie. Kelly, how you doing today?
Great. How are you? I'm fantastic. I have a whole weekend of football to watch. Like, I haven't been this excited. It's been a couple months since I've been this excited.
Yeah, people get just hyped up for football, and look at what I'm doing. Obviously, I check the box as well. And I got to think that you're not too upset about the result from Foxborough last night.
You know, I actually did have to go to sleep. I work at 2:30 in the morning. I don't, I'll stay up for Steelers games. I will not stay up for usually other games, depending on how much it's going to affect my life. When I went to sleep, the Patriots were up. And so I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And I checked this morning. It was the first thing I did. I hopped on and checked this morning and couldn't believe it. And no, I wasn't sad. I did see a headline, though, that I thought was appropriate. It said, you know, the loss was something the Patriots needed, a harsh reality that the Patriots needed. And I have to agree with that. They've been so good for so long. It was going to happen eventually. I'm kind of happy it happened in the first game, but 2 games in a row. So whoever they play next week, which I do not know the Patriots schedule, I feel bad for them because I have a feeling he's going to come out guns blazing.
I think you're right. And you know how you always overemphasize the beginning of the season, especially like baseball season, where it's this complete marathon for 6 months, but people go overboard on opening day because it's the first game. So you're all revved up and excited. That was my son and I watching last night because we're in a pick 'em pool against the spread. And he's like from the first play of the game thinking, you know, he needs to win the money. And I'm like, you know, this is like 256 games. You know, it was like Super Bowl intensity. More importantly, Penn State, I know it was just Akron last week, but this is the Penn State that you know and love in terms of being a football power versus just kind of stopping through a 2-touchdown win against Akron like 24-10 like we've seen for 5 or 6 years. This was put the foot down and put it on the neck, and there we go.
Definitely also gave me a more comforting feeling than in the past. I mean, last year, you and I talked about it several times. Last year, it was this whole, we're a second half team. I'm like, no, I'm done with that. I don't want to be a second half team. I want to come out looking strong. I don't want to have to dig out from behind. I'd rather be ahead and hang tough there. So as I watched those first couple downs, I mean, I'm sure the players much more anxious than I, but starting to see some of that really gel and seeing that experience that they had from last year carry over. You always hope that that's going to happen, but it actually looked like that happened on Saturday. And I actually got to be with a lot of my friends from Penn State, which I don't usually get to do because I live in Nashville. They're all on the East Coast, but I was at a bachelorette party and I have one sorority sister who I can always count on. And she and I were in the house watching the game. All the other girls were by the pool and we were, you know, really pumped and encouraged with what we saw. And also because by halftime, we did actually get to go enjoy the pool a little bit because we didn't have to have that sense of, oh gosh, we got to come back from this, or, oh, they're going to drop this and it's going to be a mess. So where I have very much recently been a little bit of a reserved fan, I was really excited on Saturday to see that. It looked like a team that has practiced together and has played together and has weathered some storms together.
So Kelly, it's basically been just about exactly a year ago that we got together and talked up the Pitt game, and just so much has changed in that 1 year for Penn State football because it looked like it was going to be okay. Let's see if James Franklin can take a few more steps here, maybe win 7 or 8 games, and they won't be much of a factor in the Big Ten. But they need to beat Pitt because that's an in-state rival, and they didn't do it. And so then there was more pessimism, and wow, it's just totally different this time around.
It's so different this time around. And, you know, again, I'm a reserved fan. I'm a very realistic fan. I try to kind of keep my emotions in check almost because I don't want to be disappointed. But last year I went into Pitt thinking like, this is going to be amazing. We're in Pittsburgh. It's my hometown. We're going to stomp all over Pitt because I've been talking smack for how many years that we haven't played this game. And then I was heartbroken. I actually vaguely recall getting in probably more verbal arguments than I should have on that specific day. But I'm pretty confident going into this Saturday. I'm hoping that I don't come back and regret that. I think it'll be closer than people are saying. Again, hope I'm wrong. I think just because of the nature of the rivalry, it'll be closer than people are. I mean, I've seen predictions of just like crazy blowouts and, completely lopsided scores. And I understand where people are coming from because Pitt isn't as good as they were last year. Penn State is better than they were at this same point last year. I just think because of the nature of the rivalry, we're going to see more than we are hoping, but I still think that Penn State will handle it. I think the no Jordan Whitehead makes it an interesting situation, and I think they just look more experienced. I think our defense is better than they were last year at the same time. I'm excited, and it's home, so I do think that definitely changes it. However, that crowd at Heinz Field was predominantly Penn State fans, so I can't even take that as an excuse. That was a lot of Penn State fans walking around. So I'm excited. I'm a little anxious. I don't want the excitement of it all to get to the players and end up psyching them out. But I think it'll be a fun game. I really hope I can walk away from that just with bragging rights so I can not hear ever again, well, like, we beat you and then you were the Big Ten champion, so that means we should have been in this, that. No.
Well, what makes it tough now is to be the big favorite. And so going into last year's game, it was, okay, this is a toss-up. It's a field goal game. We'll see what happens. These are two decent teams, but not great teams, not national contenders. But this year, it's Penn State, and it's Pitt. Wow, they could barely beat Youngstown State last week. And this is where I think the overreaction comes in, is people overreact to they barely beat Youngstown State, so they're awful. Well, I do think that they're going to be a little bit down from last year because of the losses that you talk about. Players moving on to the NFL. But yeah, 21 points, I think might be a little heavy for Vegas. That's what they're saying, though.
Saw that. Well, and like you said, this is a different, and this game will actually define if this is a different team than we've seen in the past years. Even I would say since I've been in college, we've played some of these Youngstown State, the Akron Zips. I mean, we've played team, and somehow in these first couple games of the season, we've let more points get on the board than we should have. And I think this game, while it's not Akron or Youngstown State, I think this is a game that we need to handle confidently. Again, I think it'll be closer, and by closer, I still don't think there will be to worry about, but I think it'll be closer than most people want to admit to, just because it is Pitt.
So since you're back in Nashville, are you going to have to go it alone this weekend in terms of rooting?
No, the Penn State Alumni Association down here is amazing. I found it, I guess, a little late after I had been down here, but I showed up to the Penn State place alone, I believe. And I walked in, I was like, oh my gosh, there's a whole crew of people. Tim Shaw was there from Penn State. He just actually got named one of the captains for the Titans for the year. But just a really fun, cool group of people. They've got a blow up Nittany Lion. They've got the banners. They have a DJ that plays the songs whenever they would play in the stadium. I mean, they do it up big, and it's really fun for me. And I've actually brought other people with me who also have fun watching it, even though they don't necessarily care a whole lot about the game. So I will probably go there just because it'll be fun to be in Nashville for it and be with that crew of people.
So Kelly, unfortunately, I only have like another minute or two to stay on schedule here, but I always love to hear what you're working on. Not the serious stuff, but if you have any zany stories or anything interesting that you've worked on recently, and then your quick take on the Steelers, because we talk about the big bad Patriots, and the Steelers are supposed to be lingering down here, maybe having a shot to do something.
I like lingering. I'm a big fan of Steelers lingering. They do best when they linger. I don't like when they're coming out as the top dog. I don't like when they are coming out as the Super Bowl champions. That never works for us. So I will comfortably linger and silently make our play. I mean, we're always relevant, thankfully. I know how lucky I am for that. But
also a good song by the Cranberries, Linger.
It's a great song. I haven't heard that in a while. But yeah, so I'm cool with the lingering. As far as crazy stories, I mean, the hurricanes have kind of taken the fun out of just about everything lately. That seems to be most of our focus here. I'm trying to think of fun stuff that I've done lately. Ah, shoot. I'm gonna have to think about that when I get back to you. We'll have to talk again in a couple of weeks, and I will think of something funny. It's Friday, and I guess I'm kind of brain dead at this point.
Well, I checked out your Twitter feed before I jumped on, and I can usually
Oh.
find something like that. But man, you've been grinding away at the serious stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's been a lot of stuff lately. So we'll maybe after all this passes, we'll have a nice lighthearted week, and I can get some crazy criminal doing something stupid, which happens every day. It's just a matter of if I get to report on it or not.
Kelly Rippin, Fox 17, joining us to talk a little Penn State, little Steelers, and it's good to be a football fan, regardless of your team, but especially when you have a chance to be on top in both directions this fall, college and pro.
You know what? Again, I know I'm a lucky girl, and that's why I explain to people that I'm not good with change, because both of my institutions have only had very few head coaches. So these are sometimes some new places for me whenever I have to adapt to the changes that go on. But I'm excited. I'm very excited. I feel like we're gonna have a lot to talk about this year, so that's good.
All right, Kelly, you have a good weekend, and we'll talk soon.
You too.